All right, well, good morning, manga enthusiasts. We are so delighted to have you here with us today. I'm Lisa Grove, the Chief of Staff and Strategy for the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco, and I'm delighted to welcome you all to the DeYoung for the Manga as Art Symposium. Yay! Thank you for being here. Today's program offers a deeper dive into the remarkable exhibition currently on view in our Herbst Exhibition Hall, The Art of Manga, the first major North American museum exhibition to celebrate the drawings at the foundation of Japanese manga, an art form beloved by millions of readers around the world. We are so honored to present this exhibition here in San Francisco through January 25th. Before we begin today's program, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land on which our museums stand. The Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco respectfully acknowledge the Ramaytush Ohlone, the original inhabitants of what is now San Francisco, and we further acknowledge that the Greater Bay Area is the ancestral territory of the Miwok, Yokuts, Patwin, as well as other Ohlone people. Indigenous communities have lived in and moved through this land over hundreds of generations, and indigenous peoples from many nations make their home in the region today. Please join us in recognizing and honoring their ancestors, descendants, elders, and all other members of their communities. Thank you. So we are here today to celebrate and dig deeper into the global phenomenon known as manga, particularly as an art form. This exhibition and today's symposium reflect the expansive knowledge, generosity, and years of dedication of curator Nicole Coolidge Rousmaniere. Dr. Rousmaniere, to whom I express my deepest gratitude, is the founding director and current research director of the Sainsbury Institute for the Study of Japanese Art and Culture, and professor of Japanese art and culture at the University of East Anglia in Norwich, the United Kingdom. Her expertise in manga and Japanese art history has been essential to this project. We could not have done it without you. Thank you so much, Nicole, for bringing this project to us and making it possible. We are also profoundly grateful to her curatorial assistant, Uchida Hiromi, whose tireless work helped bring the exhibition, catalog, and today's program to life. Thank you so much, Hiromi. My sincere thanks also goes out to all of the artists, editors, publishers, content and rights teams, and the publishers themselves for their generous partnership throughout this process. This project would not have been possible without the extraordinary support of our sponsors, especially our lead sponsors, Dai Nippon Printing, the Agency for Cultural Affairs, Government of Japan, Yuri and Carl Pascarella, and Viz Media. Please join me in thanking these incredible sponsors for making this possible. I'm also delighted that today's proceedings are being live streamed both by the Fine Arts Museums and the Sainsbury Institute at the University of East Anglia. Thank you to Simon Kainer, the executive director of the Sainsbury Institute, for helping make that possible. There are so many more people that I could thank. I know many of you are here with us in the auditorium today. Please accept my deepest gratitude for the many ways you've contributed to this exhibition and symposium. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for making this incredible exhibition possible. So now, on behalf of the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to invite Horiuchi Marue, Senior Advisor at Shueisha Publishing, to the podium. Okay. Hello.
皆さんこんにちは。 日本語で失礼します。後でニコル博士が、英語で話していただきます。集英社の今ご紹介いただいた堀内と申します。北米で初めての大規模な漫画展開催にあたって、このデヤング美術館の館長のトマス・キャンベルさん、それから美術館代表のリサ・グローブさん、そしてニコル・クーリッジ・ルーマニエル博士、そして多くの関係者の皆様方にこの場を借りてお礼を申し上げます。で、私は、集英社で50年間働いてきましたけども、そのうちの30年間を漫画の編集者として、仕事をしてきました。で、私の仕事でもあり、また私の人生の大半を使って、もう私の人生そのものと言ってもいいかと思います。で、また日本の文化庁の委員も務めておりまして、漫画、アニメ、ゲーム事業のアーカイブ構築、あるいは研究展示の推進といった文化庁の新しい事業のアドバイザーも務めております。日本の漫画は非常に長く豊かな歴史があります。で、多くの才能ある作家と多くの出版社が競い合っています。出版社にはそれぞれ独自のカラーがあって、どんな漫画をどのように流通させるかということでそれぞれ特徴があります。で、講談社は1909年に設立された最も由緒ある伝統的な出版社で、著名な漫画家の多くの作品を出版しています。で、本日ご登壇される山下和美さんもそのお一人で、漫画展で大きく取り上げられている代表作「ランド」は2021年の手塚治虫文化賞を受賞されました。一方、集英社は、それよりはもう少し若いのですが、来年創業100年を迎える会社です。漫画の部門では多くの作品を出版させていただいております。山下和美さんも1980年のデビューは集英社の少女漫画からスタートされ、そしてその後講談社で素晴らしい青年漫画を発表されてきました。で、非常に多くのジャンルで優れた作品を世代を超えて多くの方に届けられている非常に稀な才能をお持ちの漫画家だというふうに思います。この後山下和美さんと担当する編集者の皆さんがこの創作のなんていうんですか、創作のいろんなエピソードを皆さんにご披露されるんじゃないかというふうに思います。日本では出版社同士は互いにいい関係を持ち、漫画関連の多くの課題、例えば海賊版対策とかですね、大きな課題に直面していますけれども、そういうことでは皆さん連携を協力をし合っておりますし、一方作品作りではお互いライバルでもあります。そんな中、複数の出版社が同じ空間で協力し合うアート・オブ・漫画展は実に異例にして特別な試みです。先ほど申し上げた通り、山下和美さんの作品は講談社、集英社両方から出版されているものが一つの空間で展示されております。また現役の漫画家で、今日本を代表する漫画家千葉哲也さんですが、高森浅夫さんと共著で50年前に発表された「明日のジョー」はと、それから小学館で今連載中の日記的漫画が一緒に展示をされています。 つまりこの展覧会の素晴らしさは、アメリカで初めての大きな漫画展、そして大作家の原画を一堂に集めたということだけではなくて、漫画展示の新たな可能性を切り開いた点にあると言えると思います。週末を中心に多くの来場者を集めているこの展覧会は、お客様だけではなく漫画業界にとってもこれからの可能性を示しているものではないかと思います。本日は山下和美さんの作品を通じて漫画制作の現場、そしてサンフランシスコで生まれた歴史的な日本漫画を学んでいきます。で、午後には日本での漫画原画保存やグローバルに広がる未来の可能性についても考えます。皆さんにとって興味深い有意義な一日になることを望んでおります。どうもありがとうございました。
Hello, my name is Horiuchi Marue, and I am the Senior Advisor and former Board Director at Shueisha. As we celebrate the first large-scale manga exhibition in North America, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the director, Thomas Campbell, and represented today by Lisa Grove, and to Nicole Rousmaniere, the lead curator, and to all the many people who made this possible. I worked as a manga editor at Shueisha for 30 years, and manga is my profession. It has also been my passion in life. I also serve as a member of Japan's Agency for Cultural Affairs, where I advise on new initiatives for building a national archive for manga, anime, and gaming, as well as promoting research and exhibitions. Japanese manga has a long and rich history. Many talented creators and many publishing houses have helped to shape it. Each publisher has its own character, with different approaches to what kinds of manga it publishes and how those works reach the readers. Kodansha was founded in 1909. It is one of Japan's most venerable publishing houses and has released the works of many celebrated manga artists. One of them is Yamashita Kazumi, who is going to be speaking to you shortly. Her work, Land, is featured prominently in this exhibition, and it also received the 25th Tezuka Osamu Cultural Prize in 2021. Shueisha, by contrast, is not as old, but it will celebrate its 100th anniversary next year. We publish a very large amount of manga. In fact, Yamashita Kazumi made her debut at Shueisha in 1980. After a great success in shoujo manga, she went on to create remarkable seinen manga at Kodansha. Today, she publishes essay manga also with Shueisha in a completely different style. I'm filled with admiration at her extraordinary ability to create masterpieces that transcend both genre and generations. In a moment, you will be hearing about this process shortly from the artist and her Kodansha and Shueisha editors. In Japan, publishers maintain good relationships and often cooperate on various manga-related projects. At the same time, we are rivals. For this reason, the Art of Manga exhibition, which displays multiple publishers collaborating in a shared space, is both unusual and special. Yamashita Kazumi's Kodansha and Shueisha produced manga drawings are actually on display in the same room. Probably the most iconic manga artist is Chiba Tetsuya. Co-created with Takamori Asao, their 50-year-old masterpiece, Ashita no Jo, is published by Kodansha and is currently on display with Chiba Tetsuya's ongoing manga diary by Shogakan. This is to say that in this exhibition is exciting in many ways, but not only for bringing together drawings in a large number that have not been shown before in the United States, and important by important Japanese mangaka, but also for creating new pathways and possibilities in the display of manga. The exhibition clearly is reaching its audience, with large numbers visiting daily, especially on weekends. But it is also showing the industry new possibilities for the future, one that benefits us all. Manga belongs to everybody. I'm pleased to welcome you here to what will provide to be a fascinating look into manga production through Yamashita Kazumi's works, a dive into historical manga created in San Francisco, and this afternoon, how manga is cared for in Japan and expanding possibilities for its future globally. I hope that this will be an engaging and inspiring day for all of you. Thank you very much. I would like to call Ishihara-san from the Japanese Consulate to come and to give us a welcome greeting.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great honor to be with you today, and thank you very much to the leadership of the Young Museum, Lisa-san, and the curator, Nicole-san, especially, for organizing the Art of Manga exhibit and today's symposium. We at the Japanese Consulate here continue to support you and this exhibit as a sponsor, along with the Agency for Cultural Affairs of Japan and the Japan Foundation. I have one simple question. What is manga? A form of pop culture? That's correct. But it's more than that. Manga acts as educational material, for example, by illustrating the daily life, love, friendship, history, economy, politics, and more. In fact, because I read a manga about historical literature, I got a good score on my university entrance exams. And because I read a romance manga, I was probably be able to get married to my wife. So manga has a power that can enrich and change the people's lives. This is one of the reasons why manga is so popular all around the world. For Japanese people, manga is everywhere really. You can find mangas in barbershop and restaurant to read while waiting. So I think I can say that a manga is a part of life for Japanese people and Japanese society. However, because of that, there's one aspect of manga that we Japanese people were not aware of. That is the art of manga. In 2018, an original drawing of Astro Boy by Tezuka Osamu was sold at an auction in Paris for over $300,000. $300,000. This is an event where the single sheet of paper was valued as a work of art. This was really an eye-opening event for Japanese people. So now, the Agency for Cultural Affairs of Japan is taking the lead in efforts towards the preservation of original drawings, recognizing them as works of art and sources of creativity. Agency's assistance support to this symposium and to the One Piece Only is one of those efforts, and I heard that agency is also planning to open a National Center for Media Arts for digital archivists. Today's symposium deals with this issue, the current situation, and the challenges of the preservation of original drawings. I believe all of you enjoy it. In concluding, I can't help refer to Yamashita Kazumi sensei, one of the most famous and influential Japanese manga artists, and she's also well known as the person who spearheaded the campaign to preserve a historical house in Tokyo. In addition, she is also a manga I read when I was a student, so I'm so nervous today. So I'm just feeling as if a boy in front of the Stephen Curry or Barry Bonds, maybe. So, and not only as a deputy consul general here, but a fan of manga. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to be here, and enjoy to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ishihara-san. That was a beautiful, beautiful introduction, and thank you very much, Horiuchi-san, for your magistral introduction. It really has been a labor of love, and Lisa Grove started off our day, and what she said was really important. It really takes the whole museum to create this exhibition. It's not me, it's not even Uchida Hiromi, who does amazing things and can move mountains. It's the whole museum. It involved everybody. It moved them beyond their comfort zone in many different ways because it's such a big project. But everyone came together, and I really want to thank everybody in this building and who's been working it. And I want to bring particular attention to the fantastic person who runs the events, Devin. And they have done a fabulous job and set everything for today. So thank you very much. And Rich and his team who are doing the audiovisual, I think we're set for a very, very good day. I want to very quickly introduce what's going to happen, and then I want to go on for Yamashita Sensei's talk because we have a lot to talk about. But I want to give a little bit of the structure of today to explain. In the morning until 1 p.m. we'll be here. And then we'll break for lunch between 1 and 2. We'll have to leave the room. We can't stay in this room. So, and if everyone comes back promptly at 2, because we're going to finish at 3:30. The afternoon session is from 2 to 3:30. So it's not a lot of time, but it'll be very rich and be very wonderful. But we need to keep to time. So if you don't mind, I'll be a little bit of shepherding us all. And people who know me know that that's not a natural position for me. so bear with me. I'm still learning at my age. But I wanted to say also that we're so lucky to have the Japanese Agency for Cultural Affairs support this event. Without them, we would not be able to have brought the artists here, the editors here. And it's the artists and editors who created this exhibition. The museum hosted it and brought it together, but it's a celebration of the artists' drawings. And the artists' drawings are possible because of the editors and because of the publishers. So it really is this joint project, but the glue that puts it together this time has been the Bunkacho to actually bring the artists here. So I'm incredibly grateful. Thank you very much. What's exciting about this symposium is that this is all going to be feeding in to their new national archive that's being formulated right now. And it's been going on for many years. It's definitely going to happen, but the position, the actual formal structure of how it's going to be happening is being decided now. And hopefully this will be part of that overall solution. So in the morning, we're going to soon invite Yamashita Kazumi sensei to come and speak first with her fabulous Kodansha editor, Komatsu-san, and then afterwards with her Shueisha editor, Masuzawa-san, who we call Charlie. And then after that, we don't have a long amount of time, but it's just amazing to hear from Yamashita sensei's own voice about her manga inspirations. After that, we're getting a real treat because, and I'm sorry, I've neglected to say something. Something happened this morning that I need to tell you about. It wasn't supposed to happen till January, but her new English translation is out. This is, in Japanese, you would say yakitate. This is just hot out of the oven, literally, this morning. And I believe there will be 100 copies in the shop. It's really not supposed to be released till January, the only place you can get it. is here for the time being, and you definitely need to get this. This is incredible. This is a Yen Press has with Kodansha has really pulled out all the stops and done fantastic work, not just for Land but also for Wonder Boy. So after we have Yamashita Sensei with her editor speaking, we're going to ask the magical Fred Schott to come up and to speak to us about Henry Kiyama, his passion project, this amazing project, and he's written books on it and spoken about and done a lot of research, but it really brings back where manga started in San Francisco. And I don't want to give away the plot line. It won't be a spoiler, but we're in for a real treat. After that, he's going to be responded to by Ito Yu-san. And Ito-san is part of the Seika University International Manga Research Center. And he's going to be looking at it in context with other Japanese manga artists that have worked around California. But it turns out California is a hub. And so it's very appropriate that this exhibition is here now. After lunch, don't go away. Please come back, because the afternoon is going to be fabulous. We're turning our view away from the artists more towards the museum. And we're going to be asking Oishi Takashi san, who is in charge, the director of the Yokote Masuda Manga Museum in Akita, to speak about this amazing museum that he's created in Akita. And Yoshinaga Fumi's works that we have displayed in the museum are under his care. So he really is a very important to this museum, to our exhibition, but also to manga in general. And he's also been working a little bit more now with Yamashita Kazumi on her new approach for the Western house that she saved, which we'll hear about a little bit later. Afterwards, we're going to ask Ito Yu-san to come back and tell us a little bit about the International Manga Museum in Kyoto and about manga research in Japan. Finally, we're going to have a panel, and this is going to be, I think, quite riveting, at least for me, hopefully for all of you, but we're asking the magical Cynthia Carnes, who is the Fine Arts Museum of San Francisco's own paper curator. She's head of paper conservation. And what's incredible about her, and I got to meet her when she was helping install the manga exhibition, her knowledge about paper, conservation, preservation, best practice is unparalleled. And just looking at her putting together how to display the manga, how to display these Genga drawings, I learned so much. The Japanese curators who were there were inspired as well. So we're very lucky to have her speak. We're going to have Justin Hall, Professor Justin Hall, who is from the California College of Arts, who draws manga, comics himself, but also teaches about it, and is the first Fulbright scholar on comics. And we're going to ask back Ito Yu-san again, and then and Masuzawa-san, Charlie, the curator, the editor from Shueisha, to come and to speak from a publisher's perspective. And I will moderate it, and we'll have just a discussion right here, and we'll end promptly at 3:30. So without further ado, I would like to invite Yamashita Kazumi Sensei to come up. Can we have Komatsu-san, her editor, to come this side? Daijoubu desu ka? Okay. Yokatta.
Hi.
So I have a real challenge here. We have only 45 minutes, or a little bit less, and how are we going to capture everything that we want to hear from Yamashita Sensei and Komatsu-san in this short period of time? What I'm going to be doing is asking a few questions, and then we will see how it flows. But I also we have a brilliant translator here today, Mori Chio, and so she's going to be doing all of the translating for us this morning. So I want to start off at the very beginning. I want to ask you about growing up. You were the youngest of 4 sisters.
Yes.
And 2 of them were manga artists themselves. So how did you share your sense of artistic identity? How did this work? Did your family encourage manga? How did this all happen? And can you tell me a little bit about growing up with 3 older sisters and becoming a manga artist?
いいですか、日本語で。私姉が3人いるんですけど、一番上が10上なんですよ。で7つ上4つ上っているんですけど、うち2人1番目と2番目が漫画家になってるんです。で私が、小学校の時に20歳で一番上の姉がデビューして、で高校3年か大学ぐらいの時に2番目がギャグ作家としてデビューしてるんです。そこまで。はい。
Okay, so I have 3 sisters, older sisters. I'm the youngest of 4. And my oldest sister is 10 years older than me, and the next is 7 years older, and the third is 4 years older than me, and then first and the second sisters, they both became mangaka, and they made a debut. And the first one, the oldest sister, debuted when she was 20. I was in elementary school, and my second sister made a debut when I was in third year of high school, maybe first year of college.
次どういう話しましょう。
で、自分は漫画なんか最初に。When you were saying, you were telling me about how you would secretly steal your sister's tools and to draw manga.
上のそのデビューしたお姉さんたちは結構怖くてでそれで一番上のデビューした時に要は漫画の道具使うじゃないですか。それを借りたいんだけどお姉ちゃんが怖くて言えないんですよ、それが。でだからこっそりくすねて横目で見ながらこうやって描くんだなってくすねてこう部屋で描いてて、お姉ちゃんが帰ると隠すっていうのをやってたんで、だからお姉ちゃんは私が絵が描けるってことをずっと知らなかったんですよ。
So my oldest sister, both of my older sisters, they were very scary. So I was very scared of them. And when my the oldest sister debuted as mangaka, I was kind of watching her do work, artwork, but I couldn't bring myself to say, like, can I borrow your tools to draw manga? So when she was not home, I would kind of sneak her tools and draw some manga, and then I will kind of hide her tools when she comes home because she was very scary.
一番目のその一番上のお姉さんは絵がすごくうまかったんですよ。そうなんだけど一回リボンで集英社のリボンコミックでデビューしたんです。そうですね堀内さんもしかしたらご存知かもしれないんですけど、森田純の海鳥の後ろに乗ってたんですよそうなんです。それでデビューしたんで、話を絵はうまいんですけど話が面白くないんですよね、これが。
So my oldest sister, she was very good at drawing, and she was really great at drawing. And then she actually made a debut in a magazine called Ribbon from Shueisha. And her work was actually published in the same magazine after Morita Jun's Umidori. And Horiuchi-san might know about that. But anyway, she made the debut, but she was really great at drawing, but her story was not great.
でね、2番目もデビューするんですけど、2番目がギャグ作家だったんですよギャグの漫画家になったんですよね。でその人は作文がとても上手で、それで小学校の時に北海道で1位取るんですよね。でなんでお姉ちゃんそんな、文章うまいのって聞いたら小学生だったんですけど、後で聞いた話だったんです。それは大人の気持ちが分かるから審査員の気持ちが分かるからってすごい人だったんですけど、でその人が私が高校生ぐらいの時にちょっと投稿したいんだけどって言って、でも絵が下手だって言うんですよ。で話はできるんだけど絵が描けないって言うんで、その時に私が分かった、私がペン入れするからって言って、で投稿しようよって言ったら本当にデビューしちゃって、 でそれでギャグ作家として小学館のプチコミックで玲子さんが行くっていうギャグを書いたんです。それがちょっと人気出るんですよね。そこまでで、はい。
Okay, so my second oldest sister, so she actually made a debut as a mangaka as well, as a comedy or gag manga artist. And she was actually really good at writing. And when she was in elementary school, she actually got the first prize in Hokkaido for her writing stories. And I asked her why. So this was after so many years. I asked her why you were so good at writing stories, and she said, "Because I understand what grown-ups thinking. I understand the judges thinking, so I can write really well." So I was really impressed about her story writing skills. So when I was in high school or so, she wanted to actually make a debut as a manga artist, but she wasn't really good at drawing. So she asked me to help her. So she had a great story. I helped her ink her drawings to send her work to publishers. And she actually made a debut from Shueisha in the magazine called Puchi Comic, and Reiko-san ga Iku was a title.
それで玲子さんが行くは結構人気出るんですよ、ギャグで。でそうなんですけど、私が20歳になったら私が今度デビューしちゃって少女漫画の方で。でお姉ちゃんから「どうしてくれるんだよ」って言われるんですね。あんたペン入れしてたのにってでそことか頑張ってみたいな感じで、ね、言って、そのままなんとなくやめて小説の方に行っちゃったんですけどね、その姉さんは。
Okay, so she made a debut as a mangaka, and she became the comedy or gag manga artist. But I actually made my own debut when I was 20, and as a shoujo mangaka, and I stopped helping her for inking her drawings. So she was like, "Oh, what are you gonna do? What did you do to me? Like, who's gonna help me draw manga?" So I said, "Oh, you're on your own. You have to do your best." And then she actually became a novelist.
そうなんですよ。
ご両親について、your parents. Can you tell us a little bit about your parents?
うちの父親はね、大学の先生だったんですけど、大学の先生にありがちなんですけど、娘は好きなことやって自分は本当好きなことやりなさいっていう感じで、割と放任主義だったですね。だから漫画描いてても全然怒んなかったですね。で母親の方が、ちょっとはうるさかったんですけど、勉強しなさいっていうぐらいで、あとは何も、だからほっとかれてますよね、本当に。悪いことしなきゃいいんだよそれでって感じで。
Okay, so about my parents. So my father was a university professor, and maybe this is common for professors, but he was happy. He was like very sort of liberal parents, and he let us do whatever we want to do, and he encouraged us to do what we love. So it was okay for my parents for me to draw manga, and that was my world. And my mother was a little bit more strict, but she said you should study a little bit. But other than that, as long as we're not in trouble, we are fine. So that was my parents.
I want to hear a little bit. We don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of time, so I'd like to hear a little bit about your growing up, where you grew up, and how it influenced your work and land in Okinawa.
私は北海道の小樽で生まれたんですよ。で北海道の小樽っていうのは札幌の横なんですけども北の海に面してて、で後ろが山でニセコとか後ろの方にリゾートのスキー場があるんですけども、でそっからほとんど出たことなかったんですね。札幌なんかもう本当多分小6までに1回しか行ったことないぐらいな遠いところで、その中で育ってきたせいか小学校に入るまで北海道ここに住んでて、こういってここら辺が見えるんですけど、そこら辺を私の家の方から見てるとソ連に見えたんですよね。でずっとこうその当時冷戦で核実験とかいろいろあったじゃないですか。 で核の雨が降るとか言ってみんな昨日は核実験やったから核の雨が降るぞって傘さしてこうやって歩いたりとかしてたんですけども、でそれがだからそこがソ連に見えちゃっていつか攻めてくるって思ってすごい怖くてしょうがなくって、でも家の中ではハリウッドの映画とかいっぱい見てたんですけども、他に情報がないんで、こっち側が海があってこっちにこう山に囲まれてるんですけど、こっち側に墓がいっぱいあったんですよね。それをずっとマンハッタンだと信じていてそうで後ろはもう山だってもスキー場で山なんですよ。でこれがこの向こうは世だと思ってたんですよ、ずっと幼稚園ぐらいまでは。だから自分の中で本当いわゆるランドっていうのが形成されてて、それがランドに直結してた感じですね。はい。
Okay, so I grew up in Otaru City in Hokkaido, and that place is close to Sapporo, kind of next city to Sapporo. And you have the ocean on one side, and we have a mountain behind us. And then behind that mountain, we have a world-famous Niseko ski resort. So it's all ski area, a mountainous area. So when I was in elementary school, I grew up there, and we didn't really go anywhere. So we were in Otaru. We hardly went to Sapporo either. So I probably went there once when I was like maybe sixth graders or so. But anyways, that's where I grew up. So in Hokkaido, you can kind of picture the location. So we have a house. We see a small piece of land so across the ocean, and I thought that was Soviet Union. So we have Soviet Union in front of us across from the ocean, and they're conducting nuclear experiments, and there's news like, oh, we're going to have acid rain, we're going to have nuclear rain, so we have to hold our umbrellas to protect ourselves. So I was very scared about that, them invading us one day. And then we had a house. Inside the house, we would watch a lot of American movies, Hollywood movies. So we have information about America as well. But anyways, we had the ocean one side, mountain in the back, and there was one side of the house was cemetery. So we see all these tombstones. And I imagined from watching too many Hollywood movies, these were Manhattan buildings. So that was my imagination when I was in kindergarten or early age of elementary school. And then I thought, my imagination took me that thought that behind that mountain was heaven. So after you die, you go there because that's the different world there. So I was actually living in a place where we kind of discovered our own land. That was the sort of starting point of land.
Or land. Because there's so many things, and you can just see. I mean, I really want to ask you about rock music, but I need. If we have time, I'm going to ask that. But I need to ask you just a little bit about your relationship with your editors and with Komatsu-san, and to bring Komatsu-san in on this. Did you work together on land?
そうです。それではですね、ちょっとロックミュージックのことも聞きたいんですけれども、時間があれなので時間の関係で、まず編集者の方との関係性について伺いたいと思います。で、編集者の小松さん今いらっしゃっていますけれども、ランドの担当をされた編集者さんということでよろしいですか？はい。
So could you tell us a little bit about from Komatsu-san and also from Yamashita Kazumi Sensei's perspective, how you helped her with her vision on land, and what was the process that you went through? Did you have weekly meetings? How did you help her to deliver this amazing, monolithic story?
わかりました。それではですね、小松さんとそれから山下先生の観点もお伺いしたいんですけれども、ランドという素晴らしい名作を生み出すにあたってどのように先生をサポートされたのかという編集者からの目線でですね、例えば週にどれくらいミーティングをしたのかとか、どういうふうにこのランドという作品をこのように送り出すことになったのかというお話を少し聞かせてください。
はい。小松と申します。よろしくお願いします。大体、月刊の連載だったんですけれども、 毎週打ち合わせをしていました。で、ランド、最初からではなかったんですけど、僕は2巻か3巻ぐらいから、担当してまして、非常にすごい壮大な話で、はっきり言って見たことない漫画です。で、これを描ける方なんていうのは、本当山下さんぐらいしかいないぐらい、とんでもない漫画で、本当にぜひとも、手に取って買っていただければ嬉しいなと思ってるんですけれども、そのランドをやるにあたって、やっぱ大きな目的っていうのはなんとなく見えてたんですけど、やはりいろんなキャラクターが出てきて、いろんな人たちの人生があって、いろんな話があった上で、最終的にこの世界、この世とあの世っていう世界を見せていくっていうところで、そのキャラクターたちが、ちゃんとみんなが生きて動いて、で、その上で、彼らの、やり逃したことがないように、その彼らのやった行動と言動が最終的な、結論のところにたどり着くように、そういうのが抜けないようにってところを、割合意識して、僕編集としてはやっていました。そうですね。でも山下さんが打ち合わせしたことを、ネームにして、ネームという漫画の設計図にして、そこから下書きにして、原稿という完成したものにしてくれるんですけど、それにあたって、どんどん面白くなっていくので、やってる編集としては非常に楽しかったです。
ありがとうございます。
Okay, so this was a series publication, monthly series publication. So we had weekly meetings to do that. And I actually started to be involved in Lando after probably volume 2, maybe volume 3 of Lando. And when I first read her story, this manga, that was such a vast, sort of grand theme, and the story was amazing. And I was convinced that Yamashita-san was the only person who can actually make this as a real manga and then bring this to the world. So I would really love for you, all of you, to actually read this manga. I think the main focus that I had was that there are so many characters, so many lives, so many different stories and narratives in this amazing manga. So it's about this world and future, or the heaven after your death. And I wanted to make sure all of these stories, narratives, and everyone's lives, all the characters could put all this together, bring everyone together to conclude the story. So I was, I think, very cautious about different characters being sort of put together as one story. I was meeting with Yamashita sensei, and she would start with the draft of the story, and then she would have a sketch, and then she would ink that manga, and then she would complete the story. And as she progresses, the story gets more and more interesting and exciting. So that was pretty amazing.
Do you have any?
ちょっと面白いエピソードがあるんですけど、
Please.
ランドって10巻でしたっけ？11巻。ランドは合計11巻なんですけども、日本で発売されたのが最初ですね、最初書いててやっぱ先が見えない話じゃないですか。ラストまでいかないとなかなか。それでなかなか人気が出なくってで最初の担当の時に編集長にまだ1巻が出てない、出る時にもう3巻で打ち切りねって言われたんですよ3巻に収めてって言われたんですよ。でそれでどうしようって言ってね、担当と頭抱えてどうしようとか言ってたら、当時の担当、篠原さんっていう担当がそうだとか言ってて、一巻をむちゃくちゃ分厚くしようっていうふうに言って、それでいいのかなとか言って、で一巻をとにかくねちょっとネタバレかなっていうところまで一巻を入れようって、そうするとものすごい分厚くなったんですよ。そして出したら、それで出して、で分厚い一巻だったら3巻まで せめて6巻分入るよみたいなさなんかそういうのでやってで1巻思い切って出したらちょっと人気出ちゃったんですよね。それで最終的に11巻までいってやったねみたいななんかそんな展開だったんですよね。はい。
Fantastic.
Okay, so I want to share you a kind of interesting story behind this. So Rando, we have 11 volumes in Japan, and when I started writing this manga, because it's a story that it's kind of hard to tell what's going to happen at the end. So it wasn't really the start. It didn't really start off well. It wasn't that popular when I started drawing this manga. So I had this person who was helping me, assistant, and then we went to the editor-in-chief, and then he said, okay, you have to finish your story in 3 volumes. So this was before we actually had the first volume, but we were told we have to finish. We can only have 3 volumes to finish the story. So we were like, okay, what do we do? What can we do? And we had my editor, Shinohara-san. 女性ですか？
男の人です。
And he said, okay, we can have a really, really thick first volume. We can have so many pages, and then we can put everything in there. And so we can have only 3 volumes, but we can make them really thick. So that was our sort of strategy. And we actually decided to put some sort of hints here and there how the story is going to go. And then that worked. And the first volume was very popular.
And you were able to have it to the 11th volume.
Yes.
And sorry, yes. And then because of that, we succeeded in our strategy, and then we finally we ended up in having 11 volumes for this.
To be honest, I could listen here all day to Yamashita Kazumi Sensei, but because we have a very packed schedule, we're going to look at another aspect of her. We're going to look at her actual crowdsource funding capabilities to create a new manga resource center. So what I'm going to ask is Komatsu-san to go back to or you could stay here, but yes.
Charlie-san.
Charlie, yes. Sorry.
それではですね、この山下先生のお話も一日中聞いてても尽きないんですけれども、ちょっと時間の関係で次のテーマに移らせていただきたいと思います。それではですね、クラウドファンディングの、ソースを使ってですね、漫画のリソースセンターを山下先生が構築されていると、そのお話を伺いたいと思います。チャーリーさんをお呼びしたいと思います。
Hello, I'm Charlie from Shueisha. Nice to meet you.
What has Horiuchi-san said in the beginning, what's interesting about Yamashita Kazumi Sensei is that she is multidexterous and she does fantastic stories with Kodansha, but she's been doing recently essay manga with Shueisha, and Charlie has been her editor there, and she has created this amazing resource center, which I think we all really need to know about, because just as she's the only one who could do land, she's the only one who could have created this building. And I want to hear just a little bit about it and its origins. Can I maybe hear first from Charlie how the Setagaya, how the Theodora Ozaki Te, how that started, and how your relationship started in the manga that
まさに今のランドを講談社で連載中の山下先生に何か新作お願いしますと言っていました。で、家が近くてよくこの洋館の近くにあるすき家作りの山下邸にお邪魔してる中ですごく先生が気になっている青い館があるということで一緒に興味を持って話し始めました。
So yes, so when she was working on land with Kodansha, I actually went to her and asked for her new piece of manga. And we actually live close to each other. And she has a really nice traditional style Japanese house. And I would go and visit her at her house. And I knew about this beautiful blue Western style house.
And tell us a little bit more about then what happened.
まあそれである時館が取り壊されてしまうというお話を先生から伺って、まあどうやったら取り残せるかという、なのでまあストーリーの打ち合わせっていうよりはどうするみたいな、どうやったらいいんだろうみたいな保存の相談をし始めるみたいな。
お金ないしみたいな、まだ借金持ちだしみたいな。
そんな相談から始める。
So the beginning of this manga was actually not really like we were not talking about coming up with a new story, but we were worried about this blue house, this beautiful blue house in our neighborhood. So she told me about this. There's a plan that they're going to take down the house. And we started to think about, okay, how can we preserve this beautiful building? What can we do? What can we possibly do? So rather than creating a story about the house, we actually wanted to preserve and conserve this house. But we were like, we didn't have money, we were in debt, and we didn't know where to start.
How did you start?
How did you start? ですね、最初はもうとにかく私とかチャーリーさんとかね、みんなで話し合ってどうしようかっていうことになって、とりあえず取り壊すのをやめてもらいたいっていうので、不動産通して購入した建て売りの会社にもう7件建っちゃうっていうんで、なんとか止めてもらうようにクラウドファンディングっていうか署名活動したんですよね、ネットで。アドバイス受けて、そうしたら思いのほかわーっと集まりまして、そうでそのあたりから漫画の話。
そうですね。まさにでもそのクラウドファンディングが始まっていたけど、本当に保存できるかが全くまだわからない頃に、まあ漫画も始めて、でもその漫画ってやっぱりハッピーエンドを描きたいので、いい意味で目標になったというか、先生の中で保存するっていうね、結末ハッピーエンドに向けて漫画を始めるということで、
漫画にすればできるかなっていつも漫画にしちゃえば、私ほらいろんなものを挫折してきたけど漫画に起こせばできるかもしれないなっていうね、そういう思いがあって始めましたね。はい。
So when we started, we started talking about how to preserve this house and what we can do and things. So the first thing we wanted to do is to stop whoever was going to take down the house from doing it. So we heard that this real estate company is going to buy the house, take it down, and have 7 little houses in that piece of land. So we really needed to stop that. So we actually turned to internet online and collected all the signature from people. And then we had a lot of responses. And then maybe around that time, we actually started thinking about putting this into manga as a story. And when you create a manga, you wanted to have a happy end at the end. So you wanted to have like a positive ending. So that actually became our goal. So even though we didn't know where we're going to do with this house in reality, but because we wanted to have a happy end, that actually gave us a sense of purpose, and that became our goal. So I have many sort of failures in my life, but I was convinced that if I make this into manga story, this will happen and we will succeed.
Did you?
何度かもうダメだって思った時があったんですよ。それで本当にもうダメだ、もうお金が足りん、もうね不動産業って建て売り業者にどんどん値段釣り上げられちゃったんですよね、交渉してるうちに。でもうダメだって思った時に救いが来たんですよね。ある漫画家さんが、女の漫画家さんが連絡してきたんで、ちょっと資金少しでもお役に立てればって連絡くれたんですけど、その旦那さんが新田達夫さんっていうね、
静かなるドンっていう
ね、ヒット作をやった漫画で、多分その当時日本のネットデジタルの
デジタル ですごく、
第1位みたいな売り上げだったんです。
はい、LINE 漫画で1位を
取った人、そのご夫婦が協力してくれって突然名乗りで、まあ旦那さんは別に協力するつもりじゃなかったんですけど、後で奥さんに説得されたんですけど。
そうですね。
そうそうそう。俺なんでこんなことやってんのかなみたいな感じで入ったんですけど、その方が入ったことで形勢逆転になって購入になったんですよ。はい。すごい話。そう。
We were working on this, but we experienced some of the sort of drawbacks, and many times we were almost, going to give up, because the real estate companies, they started during our negotiation, they started to raise prices for the property, and they were giving me higher prices for the house. So I was almost going to give up, but at the last minute, this female mangaka contacted me, said, I want to financially help you to make this happen. And then we discovered that her husband is also mangaka named Tatsuo Nita, and he was the author of Shizuka Naru Don, The Quiet Dawn. And then his work, this manga had the #1 sales on LINE manga at that time, so very popular. So this couple decided to help us, and I guess like he didn't know what he was doing, but his wife convinced him to help us anyways later on. So then we actually, after that moment that this couple actually lent us support, we had upper hand in the negotiation.
そうですね。そして購入になったんですよね。ところがさあどうしようっていうか何に使おうかこの館をっていうことで、住もうかどうしようかっていう時に、その時に三田さんっていうね、ドラゴン桜っていう受験漫画で有名になった作家が協力したいって言って、もう山下さん見てられない、もうハラハラしちゃってとか言って協力するよって言って、でこの館をでみんなで話し合って、せっかく漫画家が集まってねこの館を残したんだから、漫画に関わるものにしようっていうことにして、でギャラリーなんだけれども、やっぱりこうその来た人の気持ちを考えて、ギャラリーかつ喫茶室プラス売店、いろいろグッズコーナーで、だから例えばなんか鬼滅だったら鬼滅はもう飾れないと思うんですけど、スペース足りなくて、で見に来て、それでなんかいいよねって、ね、グッズ買って、でグッズを見せ合うのに喫茶室でこう見せ合えればいいよねみたいな、部屋がいくつあるのか、大きくはないんだけどいくつかあるんで、そこら辺を利用してうまく配分してできたらいいねっていうのでできたのが今の尾崎テオドラでなんですよ。はい。
So we purchased the house, but we didn't know how to use this house. We had this house, but we were like, okay, are we going to live in this house? Are we going to use this for something else? So we have to think about how we can utilize this great space. So Dragon Zakura's author, Mita-san, said, okay, I want to help you, and I want to, because what you're doing is really making me nervous. Like, I need to help you to make this reality. So we have the discussion, we decided to have the space for mangaka, because mangaka put together resources and then purchased this house. So we decided to create this into a manga gallery. So we were thinking about what customers or visitors would like to do in there. So we have this gallery, people look at the exhibitions, they would then go to a gallery store, museum store, purchase anime-related goods, manga-related goods there, and then they can go to like a coffee shop or cafe there to kind of like show what they purchased there. So for instance, for Demon Slayer goods, they can maybe purchase there. We have limited space, but we have different exhibitions there. So that's how we sort of came about with the idea of creating this space into a manga gallery. So we have smaller rooms. It's a house. So each room is kind of smaller, but we have several rooms. So we converted this into the actual current status Ozaki Teodora house.
So you're a multi-functioning mangaka. You actually are running a manga museum and a manga facility. It's fabulous. So you're now, it opened last year, and we're going to have to kind of sum up here. But do you have any comments, or you or Charlie, any comments about what you're planning to do at the Teodorate? Will there be another volume of your manga?
このテオドラテって結構ね少女漫画が合うんですよ。すごく綺麗な絵の少女漫画が合うんで、ですからそういうこうイメージと合うと本当にお客さんがいっぱい来るんですよね。だからこの主にちょっとそういうこうイメージに合うもので、夢はねちょっとベルサイユのバラやるんですのが夢なんですけど、いつかベルサイユのバラやりたいなみたいなね。なんかそういうこう館も見たいし、これ一応世田谷で一番古いんですよ一応ね。で館も見たいし漫画も楽しみたいしカフェもいいよねみたいな、総合的に大きくないちっちゃいんですけども、そういうこう来てよかったねみたいな感じになれるようなコンパクトだけど楽しい館ができたらいいなと思うんですよ。はい。
Yes, so you're very versatile, very talented mangaka, and this place opened last year. And do you want to add some comments? Yes, so this place is very a great location for shoujo manga. It's a very fitting sort of location for shoujo manga to be housed. So when we have a good sort of match between the facility and manga type of manga, we have a lot of visitors to our place. So my goal, my dream right now is to have the Rose of Versailles no Bara exhibition there. So customers can come and look at the exhibitions, go to cafe, go to gift shop. And so it's a cozy little place, but I want to make it very fun and enjoyable for everyone.
Well, because it's Yamashita Sensei, I'm absolutely sure that what you want will happen. It's impressive what she's done. She's creating this magistral land to creating actually a facility for manga. And I hope you all, I don't know how many of you have been, but I've been multiple times and it's absolutely fabulous. It's really worth it. And it's right next to the cat temple, Gotokuji.
Yeah.
And so it's a wonderful visit. But I'm afraid we're going to have to move on right now. So it leaves me just to thank Yamashita Kazumi Sensei and her editors for being here. And I hope you'll go down and look at land downstairs a little bit differently, and the Setagaya's oldest Western style house works a little bit differently after hearing her talk.
Gotokujiの裏です。
Yes, Gotokuji. Yes, it's right behind Gotokuji.
はい、そうですね。今山下先生のお話を聞いて、山下さんはこう夢を実現できる方だというふうに思っていますので、漫画家だけではなくてですね、漫画をこう広めるための施設を作ったりですとか、そういうことをされていると。で、この場所自体、テオドラ邸がですね、すぐ近くに猫の神社で有名な豪徳寺というお寺がすぐ近くにあります。皆さんの中でも行かれたことあるかもしれないですけれども、私自身も何度も行っております。素晴らしい場所です。
いいですか、
いやもちろん。
いや海外の方でいっぱい通られるんですけど、豪徳寺に帰りに、普通の洋館なんで日本人が見るとわーとか思うんだけど、外人から見ると普通の家だねって言って通り過ぎていくんですよ。
It's really funny. A lot of visitors from overseas, they go to Gotokuji to look at the shrine. And they look at this house and they said, oh, it looks like a normal house. So they don't really stop walking. They just walk right past it. But for Japanese, it's like a really special building, Western style building. So I think it's always funny to see tourists just walking right past it.
Well, I think we've got to put it in our agenda, but I just want to really thank Yamashita Sensei and her editors. Thank you so much, and our translator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are traveling quite along at a clip here, And I would like to invite Fred Schott to come up to give a talk about his project on Kiyama Henry. And I just want to point out that there's a deep Totori connection. I'm very passionate about Totori, and I know there are people in this audience that are passionate about Totori, but we're going to hear not about Kiyama Sensei in Totori, we're going to hear about him in San Francisco. So Fred, please.
So it's really an honor to be invited to talk about my obsession here. And I just wanted to say it was a fascinating talk, and also a tip of the hat to the interpreter. It was fabulous interpreting. Whoa, how'd that happen? Here we go. 46 years ago, I was in the East Asian Library at the University of California in Berkeley, and I was doing research on manga, and I saw a reference in the card catalog to this work. In Japanese, it's Manga Yonin Shosei, which literally translates to the 4 students manga. But in Japanese, the word shosei does not really translate correctly to students. So I like to think of it as the 4 immigrants manga. I paged this book. Let's see if I can get this technology to work here. Down. Is there a reason down doesn't work?
Can you just see? Let me see. I think you might be too tall.
Maybe I'm too tall. There we go.
Yeah, I think you're too tall.
I might have to do this I might have to do this regularly. Anyway, I paged this book. This was in the old days when you had card catalogs and you had to page the books. And I was just shocked when I saw it. This was a hardcover book. It was about 112, 114 pages long. It had 104 pages of manga in it. But what was really shocking was to see the credit page. You can probably see here in the top right, this was published in 1931. And most historians today think that the first American comic book came out in 1934. So this was just a shock. I thought, what is this thing? And here again, my technology is not, yeah. Also, if you look at where it's published in San Francisco. And who published it? It's someone named Henry Kiyama. His first name in Japanese is Yoshitaka. So he's Henry Kiyama Yoshitaka. And I thought, this is just incredible. Whoops, wrong way. Please go forward. Doesn't respond. Forward, forward. Maybe if I walk over here.
Maybe you can tell me I'll stand here.
Yeah, maybe you can, maybe. There we go, next one, next one.
Yes, I think there is an issue.
There is an issue.
I wonder if our fabulous Rich can tell me.
Hitting it down.
Maybe I'm doing it the wrong way. Sorry, apologies. Yeah, put it down. Thank you. Thank you. Next one. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Maybe can I make it work? It would be great if I could. Yeah.
Nope.
Other way. Okay, okay. It's technology, what can I say? When I opened the book, I was just amazed because this is somewhat in the style of George McManus's Jiggs and Maggie and Bringing Up Father, which was very popular in America at that time. But this is a bilingual manga, and when I say bilingual, I really mean bilingual. You have to be bilingual in order to read it. You have to know English and you have to know Japanese. And it's very difficult for modern Japanese to read this because it's written in Meiji period Japanese, which is quite archaic. So when the American characters or when the Japanese characters are speaking English, everything is in English. When the Japanese characters are speaking in Japanese, it's all in Japanese. So it's a very unusual thing, and you have to wonder, well, what was the target audience for this? We can say right away that Henry Kiyama was not a very good businessman because the audience was very limited. And I don't know why, but we're not going the way I want. Why aren't we going the way I want? Okay. Well,
I know it's counterintuitive for me.
which
but
way am I pointing it?
So this is,
To go forward?
yeah, so I think it's,
Okay.
so just
Okay.
the down one, not the top
I
one.
want the top one now.
Okay.
So this was one of the illustrations that really caught my eye because I realized that Henry Kiyama had this fabulous sense of humor. He'd really absorbed a lot from American comics. And here you can see, this is a history, really, of Japanese immigrants from 1904. Why does it change when I'm talking and I'm not even pushing the thing? I have no idea. This is a history of Japanese Americans, immigrants in the United States, in California, specifically in San Francisco from 1904 to around 1924. So it's a 20-year period, essentially. And I just love this particular segment because here you can see Henry, who's the author. He's depicting himself. He was a shosei. He was one of these, what were called these sort of intellectual students in Japan. They were a different class from laborers that were often migrating into San Francisco. These were people who wanted to make something of themselves, to learn at school, or not necessarily at school, but just to develop themselves. But they had to do a lot of menial jobs while they're in the city. So here's Henry, the author himself. He's in probably Pacific Heights. And he's been hired by a woman, a very wealthy woman, to work as what were called schoolboys. That's what the Japanese houseboys were called in those days. So here he thinks that maybe he's supposed to scrub his employer's back. So he opens the door, and the first thing he says is, "Wow, white people are really white." And of course he gets fired because she's very angry. So we have to understand that this is like an internal conversation. Henry never imagined that anybody outside of the Japanese American community is going to read this. And it's in many ways, it's a politically incorrect work because it's very free form, and he just wrote whatever he thought was interesting. But it is a true history and document of the life of immigrants in San Francisco. Now let's see if this will work. Yes. I thought someday I would like to translate this somehow, turn it into English, but I didn't know how, and I needed to know something about Henry Kiyama. I needed to know the environment he lived in. Otherwise, I couldn't translate it. The language was too difficult, for one thing. And I was very lucky. It took me a long time, but 20 years later, my publisher in Berkeley, Stonebridge Press, and Peter Goodman agreed to publish my translation. But I had to know more about Henry. And I found out that in the Yonago City Art Museum, there was a record of them having had an exhibit of art by someone with the same name. And I just thought, well, maybe it's the same person. So I contacted the assistant director, and sure enough, they had all of his artwork for the manga, for the comic book in the museum. And not only that, they had his other art. So that was, for me, like getting the keys to the kingdom. So, will this work? Yes. I went to Yonago. I visited the museum. On the far left here, you can see the assistant director of the museum. And right next to her, on her left side, the second person over from the left, is Henry's daughter, Hideko, who died last year at 100 years old. And then this is the director next to her. This is around 1997. And then next to the director is Henry's granddaughter. And then next to her is her father, Teruaki, who has passed away. But this enabled me to go back to San Francisco, armed with all sorts of information, and do research in the San Francisco archives of the old Japanese newspapers, as well as English language newspapers. And I knew very quickly that this was a really bad time for Henry to come to the United States. This was 1904, 1905. The Russo-Japanese War was just ending, but he came to San Francisco where, they say that history doesn't repeat. It rhymes. And you can see what was happening. But, excuse me. I don't know why I watch the news recently, I get emotional. Henry was able to enroll in the San Francisco Art Institute, which at the time, around 1912, was in the Mark Hopkins building. Excuse me. And what's interesting here is to look and to see how progressive the Art Institute was, given this environment. This is co-ed, live drawing, nudes, very unusual in these days. But look in the front row, and you'll see some Asians. And the Kiyama family think that the person closest to us in the foreground, with his back turned, is probably Henry Kiyama. There's no way of knowing, but there were other Japanese in the Art Institute. And some of them actually went later to Paris and became known as artists in Paris. And that was probably Henry's dream, too. Here's a photo that I was shown by the family. And you can see, if you know San Francisco, this is obviously Gough Street in San Francisco. This is a laundry. This is Henry standing in front of the laundry. And it probably, if you like old photos, you can deduce that this is ladies and gents cleaning and dyeing. It's a laundry. But look what's on Henry's shoulder. It's a parrot. Look what's in the window. It's a parrot cage. Remember this. Henry also won awards. He was awarded in the Art Institute. He also began exhibiting. He became very good and skilled at drawing. He began exhibiting in San Francisco. He also won awards in the New York Art Student League. Is that how you say it? He was a very talented artist. He did a lot of portraits. And somewhere, if you have an old house and your family's been in the same house for a long time, in the attic there may be a portrait or a landscape by Henry. There should be. I've found very few, but there should be some. These are all San Franciscans. Anyway, around 1927, maybe 26, Henry got on this idea in his head, which was totally radical at the time, that he would create an exhibition of his work. And he would show his fine art, and he would also show a comic strip that he had created. And he had an exhibit in the San Francisco Golden Gate Social Hall, which is in Japantown, in 1927 in February. And he displayed not only his fine art, but 52 episodes of what would become the Four Immigrants manga. And it was called the North American Immigrant Manga. That was the original title of the exhibit. And I believe that all the original art was in color. But anyway, what's interesting is it was hugely popular in Japantown. Obviously, people loved it. It was all these wonderful gags and so forth. There was an editor in the local Nichibei newspaper named Shunshuro, which is the nickname of Ebina Kazuo. And he wrote a column in the Nichibei in February on the 17th of 1927, and he criticized Henry's attempt to create this long manga, or this long comic. And you have to remember that there were no comic books in existence in the United States at this point. There were no graphic novels as we know them today at this point. He criticized it. He said it's too long, it's too journalistic, and it should be something that's serialized in a newspaper and you look at it every day. So anyway, after that, Henry decided he would take another step, and he went back and redrew all 52 episodes, all 104, I guess, pages of his manga. And each episode has 2 pages and a total of 12 panels for one episode. So he went back and he redrew it all in black and white, and then he took the artwork to Japan, and he had a book printed in Tsukiji, which is near Ginza, and then he brought it back to the United States, and he published it officially, as we saw earlier, on 1901 Sutter Street in Japantown. And what's fascinating about this is that he had not only, and Ishihara-san can relate to this, but he not only had tributes from people that he knew, but he had a tribute from the Consul General, the Japanese Consul General in San Francisco. And he had this amazing preface page, and I'm not going to spend time describing all of the tributes he has, but the large writing, the scroll writing, is by none other than Shunshuro, who had criticized his work when it was exhibited in 1927. And the illustration itself is actually by Obata Chiura, or Chiura Obata. And some of you may know, but he's a very, very famous artist today. And his work, a lot of it is in the De Young Museum, and his granddaughter is here somewhere in the audience. Kimi, you probably grew up with a copy of the book, I think. But anyway, Obata Chiyoda did the drawing on the preface, and as you go into the cafeteria today, if you eat lunch in the museum, on the right-hand side, you'll see one of Obata's fabulous Yosemite prints. But I want to just, since we don't have a huge amount of time, I want to skip through some slides to give you an idea of what a wonderful history it is of San Francisco. There's a history of, somehow, my voice triggers this. I don't understand it. Anyway, it's just a wonderful history of San Francisco through the earthquake, through the discrimination they faced, and all kinds of episodes. It's a real document. And to me, one of the most fascinating things is to see the backgrounds that Henry used. And this is an example. This is a typical American comic strip trope, I'd say. It's a dream sequence where Frank, who's one of the four immigrants, he's a businessman, and he has this dream that right after the Russo-Japanese War that he opens up a shoe store and he makes a ton of money and he becomes rich. And he's walking around San Francisco with a white woman on one arm and a Japanese woman on another. And look at the backgrounds. Let's see if I can get this to work right. In the first printing of this book, in the first panel on this page, I thought that this was the Legion of Honor. And I actually wrote that in the book, and it was printed that way. And then later on, a comic book friend of mine, Steve Lealoa, saw this, and he said, "Fred, you're all wrong." He said, "That's not the Legion of Honor. That's the bandshell in front of the De Young Museum, right here." Also, look, Seal Rock, maybe you can see the Cliff House. The Cliff House is still here in San Francisco. Seal Rock is still here. The seals all migrated to Pier 39 after thousands of years being on Seal Rock because the food is better on Pier 39. And then, if we continue on, here's another episode which I love dearly, and to talk about how history rhymes. We had a huge pandemic here recently. Well, in 1918, they also had a huge pandemic in San Francisco. It was called the Spanish flu. So this is an episode called The Flu. And the two highlight characters of the story, Chiari and Frank, are sitting at the table, and they're talking about, well, what are we going to do? They say that you can't go outside without wearing a mask. If you don't wear a mask, you get fined $3. This is true. In San Francisco, people were fined $3, and the problem was that people wanted to smoke in those days. But the gag here is that Chiari and Frank say, well, let's take a walk around Buchanan and Post Street. These are real San Francisco streets in Japantown. And the gag is that they arrive at their destination and they're wearing masks. Where are we? They're wearing masks so they don't recognize each other. It's a really silly gag, right? But what I wanted to point out is, if you can see panel number 3, there's a store in the background. It's a bookstore, and you'll see 2 Japanese characters on the top right, go-sha, 5 carts or 5 wheels, okay? Until a few years ago, on Buchanan Mall in today's Japantown, there was a bookstore named Go-Shado. This is the bookstore. Here's another episode that I just love. Whoa, please go back. Please go back. Here we are. This is another great one. Chiari, who's the most colorful character of all. Again, this is almost personal because I know people who've been beaten up during the pandemic for being Asian. Here he is, he's on Howard Street. He was beaten up in a holdup. So he goes to the local doctor, the Japanese doctor who took care of the community, Mr. Kurosawa, and he's treated. And then he's thanking the doctor. And you'll see in the panel at the bottom here, number 11, that's Dr. Kurosawa. And you'll also see there's a door in the back. And in those days, it was common to have a transparent or semi-transparent door with writing on it. If you view it from the outside, everything looks fine. If you view it from the inside, it's reversed. So the characters are reversed. But this is the Kurosawa Clinic. Now, look at this. Whoa. Look at this photo on the bottom right. This is Dr. Kurosawa, a photograph from 2004. His descendants came to San Francisco, and in the Nichibe, sure enough, they included this photo. You can see that Henry was a fabulous caricaturist. He just completely nailed this. Okay. One of my other favorite episodes is, it's one of the most dramatic of all, but come on. Chiari, who's the number one character, who's a bit of an anarchist and a bit of a radical. And we have to remember in San Francisco, there were a lot of characters in the city. And actually, a infamous Japanese, Kotoku Shusui was here, lived here for a while at the same time. He went back to Japan and he was executed for trying to assassinate the emperor. So there were a lot of characters here. So we don't know if all the characters are real or not, but they're probably based on, it's an amalgam of people that Henry knew. And of course, he himself was depicted realistically. In this episode, Chiari decides he's going to help the Japanese immigrant community by volunteering in World War I. He's going to go to Germany with the U.S. Army and fight and help raise the imitation of the reputation of Japanese immigrants who are so discriminated against. So he goes to Germany and he comes back with all the Kaiser's troops' helmets, his head count basically. And then he says with his pal Frank, they're chatting, and he says, okay, my goal now is I'm going to buy some land, I'm going to marry a white woman, and I'm going to get citizenship. So he goes down to City Hall, of course, and he was told that no citizenship allowed for Orientals, because this is at the time the Chinese Exclusion Act had been passed a long time ago, but the Japanese Exclusion Act, part of the Immigrant Act, was just passing. So look in the background here. City Hall, right? City Hall, you see in the last panel. Okay. And then the story ends, the four boys, after 20 years, they get together in Chinatown again, and they recount what they have achieved and their life stories and so forth and so on. And Henry actually goes back to Japan. Now, please look at what he's carrying in the panel 11. He has a parrot in a cage, and he has a painting. And he took the painting back to Japan. This is a real painting. It was titled Negro, and he exhibited it in Japan. This is the bird cage, the parrot cage. And this is Henry's daughter, who just passed away last year. They had the actual cage in their back storage space. Unfortunately, the parrot died of pneumonia, I think, when he went back to Neo. This is a tiny town in Japan. And I've been very fortunate to be almost adopted by the family, so I have now known 3 generations of Kiyamas. This is the only place in the world where you'll see a granite monument with my name inscribed on it. This is in front of Neo Station, where Henry was actually born and eventually died. And it talks about his work and the fact that it's been made into an NHK documentary and translated into English, and it's in a variety of libraries, and also it has my name. So this is it. If you want to see my name in concrete, this is it. This is the gift that keeps on giving for me. A few years ago, the family showed me a postcard that Henry had written to a friend in Neo in his hometown from the United States. And I assume everybody here knows that you're at the De Young Museum. Well, this postcard is from the De Young Museum. This is what it used to look like. And if you look at the stairs in front, that's the stairs in front of the band shell. So Henry, we don't know if he exhibited here or not, but he obviously came here a lot. It was dear to his heart, and he probably studied a lot of art here. The Four Immigrants manga is now translated into Spanish, also into French. Whoop. Oh, no, don't do this to me. And like I said, this is the gift that keeps on giving. Nicole Rousmaniere, the fabulous curator of this fabulous exhibit, I had the opportunity to visit the museum in Japan just last year on this very day, December 6th. And here she is in the Nihonkai Shimbun, the newspaper, talking with Akiko, who is Henry Kiyama's granddaughter, and giving them some advice on how to preserve the artwork, which still is in the museum. And this, I don't have to say anything about this, I think, but this is a musical. The book and the music is composed by Min Kang, and the direction was by Leslie Martinson. And this was in Palo Alto a few years back. just fabulous musical with professional performers and singers from Broadway who came out here. Unfortunately, it was caught in the sort of backdraft from the pandemic, so it wasn't able to tour beyond California, but someday I'm hoping it will be revived because it was fabulous. And both Akiko and Kenichi Kiyama came, and they nearly had to be hauled away because it was so emotional. So that's it. I think I've probably blown through my time. Please forgive me, Nicole. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Fred. Fred is a magical being. He has been working, grown up partially in Japan, completely a translator, but also an academic, also a scholar, also all sorts of different things. But what's really, and just recently written about the Heart Sutra, so he's a multitasker. But what's really important is that he introduced manga to American audiences. And his book, Manga, and a number of his books really reached manga in America at a very critical time. So it's interesting to see we have Henry Kiyama, we have Fred Schott, and now we're going to invite Ito Yu to the stage. And Ito-san? Ito-san's going to speak about a response to Fred's talk, and talk a little bit about the other manga artists, Japanese manga artists in America, and being translated by Horiuchi.
日本語ですいません。伊藤優と言います。京都精華大学の国際漫画研究センターというところに所属しているものなんですけれども、フレッドさんのですね、発表について図版はいただいてたんですけど、どういう話になるか知らなくて、で今日聞いて非常に面白くお話を聞きました。
Hi, my name is Yu Ito. I'm from Japan, and I'm going to give my speech in Japanese. I'm from Kyoto Seika University, and we have International Manga Research Center. I've seen Fred's slide deck, but this was the first time I actually heard him talk about this Kiyama-san, so that was really interesting.
お話を聞いてですね、やっぱり歴史っていうものを知るっていうことはすごく大切だなっていうことを改めて思いまして、それは漫画に関してもそうだっていうことを思ったんですけれども、実際僕も、漫画ミュージアムにですね翻訳されたフレッドさんが作ったものとは別バージョンなんですけど、4人書生っていうのが翻訳されて本になってまして、これ読んできたんですけれども、ここから今の日本の漫画のシーンについて考えるヒント、改めて考えるヒントをいくつも見つけたので、それについて今日はちょっとお話したいと思います。
So after hearing his presentation, I am so sort of inspired, and I'm now sort of realizing how important it is to know history and history of manga as well. So for Manga Museum, where I work, I actually have this book. It's a different version from what Fred was showing earlier about this for immigrants manga, and then this is translated version into Japanese. So now I'm going to talk about the sort of the modern sort of scenes, what's happening in Japan with manga.
ここにいくつかですね、これって木山のですね、その4人書生っていう作品が今の漫画のオリジナルみたいなもんなんじゃないかっていう話をいくつかしたいと思ってるんですけども、その中で今回用意してこなかったんですけど、フレッドさんの話聞いてて、これも木山が始めたっていうかですね、オリジネーターの一人なんじゃないかなって思ったことの一つは、鳥取に米子に戻ってきて、展覧会を開くっていう話をフレッドさんしてましたけれども、それってまさに漫画の展覧会の 一つオリジナルのものなんじゃないかなっていうふうに、思いました。
And there are some of the things I newly discovered from Fred's talk, but he was talking about Kiyama-san and his 4 students or 4 immigrants. But then he was talking about Kiyama-san actually had this manga exhibition in Japan. That was one of the original, maybe first manga exhibition in Japan. And that was in Yonago in Tottori Prefecture.
日本ではですね、今漫画の展覧会っていうのは180とかですね、190ぐらい年間にやってるんですけれども、それぐらい漫画っていうものが社会の中で一般的にこう展覧会としても見られるようになったんですけれども、それでもまだ漫画とファインアートっていうものが同じ美術館で行われるっていうことについてはまだ議論が起こってるんであるんですけれども、それが1930年代前後にも同じようなことが起こってるっていうことで、すごく興味深い歴史は繰り返すじゃないですけど、同じようなことが100年前にも行われてたっていうことが分かって面白かったですね。
So in Japan, currently, we probably have 180, maybe 190 manga exhibitions a year in Japan. So it's like a really significant sort of sign that manga is accepted in our society to general public. So we can see those exhibitions everywhere, and it's really interesting that we still actually have debates about having manga and other fine arts exhibitions at the same museum. So this was actually happening back in 1930. So like Fred said, history repeats itself, and we're still having the same sort of conflict or debate after 100 years.
今日はサンフランシスコの漫画っていうことで、もう一人こう木山のですね先輩漫画家の今泉一票っていう人がいたっていう話をちょっとイントロ的にご紹介したいと思います。
And about mangaka in San Francisco, there was one other person named Ippyo Imaizumi, and he was he was here before Kiyama-san.
これが今泉一票という人なんですけれども、彼はですね日本で非常に有名な福沢諭吉という人の甥いで、1885年に、アートを学ぶためにサンフランシスコに、来ています。
And he is a nephew of a very famous person, a Japanese person named Yukichi Fukuzawa, and he came to San Francisco to study art in 1885.
で帰国後ですね、福沢の作った新聞で時事新報という新聞がありまして、そこで、いわゆる風刺画っていう絵ですね、カリカチュアを担当して、でその風刺画のことを漫画というふうに名付けた人です。
And then after he returned to Japan, he started to work on caricatures for this newspaper that his uncle started. It's called Jiji Shimpo. And he was the person who started to call these caricatures manga.
これが一票の作品なんですけれども、近代的な意味、漫画という言葉は江戸期からあるんですけれども、今でとつながるような意味で漫画っていう語をですね初めて、使った人で、この絵が初めて漫画っていう言葉が出たここに漫画っていう言葉があります。
So this is one of his drawings. So Ippyo started to use this word manga, and you can see that word in this drawing to the left. But manga itself existed in Japan from Edo period. But in a modern sort of sense, or this term manga was used by him for the first time.
でその一票がですね美術を学んだここサンフランシスコで漫画の展覧会が開催されているっていうことに縁を感じています。
And I sort of feel very honored, and there was like some kind of connection. I feel that we're actually hosting the manga exhibition today here in San Francisco, where Ippyo came to study art.
でもう一つですね、お話したいことはこの漫画4人書生っていう作品を日本では実はあまり知られていなくて、これから研究が進むと思うんですけれども、この漫画4人書生をですね、漫画ファン、今の漫画ファンが読んでも面白いというか、今読み直す可能性みたいなことをいくつかお話したいと思います。
And then this story of four immigrants manga is not very well known in Japan as of now, and I think there's going to be more research on this going forward. However, I want to talk about the meaning or the significance of reading this again today.
一つはですね、エッセイ漫画としてこう4人書生を捉え直すっていう視点ですね。
And then one point is that that we want to understand this four immigrants manga as essay manga.
とりわけ日本では1990年代以降ですね、従来の読者層、作者層とは異なる読者だとか作者っていう人たちが、ネットという大きな発表メディアを得たことで、このエッセイ漫画っていうのは非常に巨大なジャンルに現在日本の中では成長しています。
And after 1990, we started to see a new trend and new readers, new type of authors and readers kind of emerge. They're very different from traditional authors and readers of manga in Japan because we started to see online presence and we have internet. So they were able to access this larger sort of audience using new media, and then this brings us this huge new genre of manga.
もちろんですね、この1990年代より前に、それこそこの展覧会でも展示されてますけれども、千葉哲也先生のひねもすのたり日記だとか山下先生の好きですのような、プロフェッショナルな漫画家が、書いているエッセイ漫画っていう系譜はずっとあったんですけれども、90年代以降はですね、そのプロの漫画家じゃないような、アマチュアとプロフェッショナルの間のような作家さんたちが自分の日常を書くようなエッセイ漫画っていうのをたくさん発表して、それを従来の漫画ファンじゃないような人たちも含めた読者たちがたくさん読んでるっていう意味で、実はものすごい人たちがエッセイ漫画を作って読んでいるっていうのが現在の日本の状況です。
So before 1990, we had professional mangaka like Tetsuya Chiba, who is the author of Hinemosu, and also Yamashita sensei here, like Suki desu. So this essay manga was written and created by professionals. But after 1990, because of this online media, we started to have more amateur, or maybe somebody sort of between professional and amateur mangaka started to create more and more work describing their daily lives in essay manga style. So we have new audience, new manga creators presence in this digital space.
そういった意味でですね、改めて現在エッセイ漫画っていうものの研究も始まりつつあるんですけれども、この4人書生っていうのがその元祖の一つとしてこれから注目を集めるんじゃないかなっていうふうに考えています。
So this modern day essay manga is going to be studied in depth going forward, and that's I'm convinced of that. So this Four Immigrants manga by Kiyama sensei is going to draw more attention as the very first original essay manga.
もう一つはですね、日本で漫画家、実在の、漫画家に限らないんですけれども、実在非実在限らず漫画家を主人公とする、漫画家漫画っていうジャンルが日本では非常にこれも大きなジャンルとしてあって人気なんですけれども、漫画史上の名作も少なくないものですけれども、4人書生はその漫画家漫画の元祖でもあるっていうふうに考えると面白いかなと思います。
And also we have this large sort of genre called mangaka manga. So it's manga about mangaka. And they sometimes talk about real mangaka, or sometimes it's a fictional character, but there is a genre that's very popular in Japan. So this For Immigrants manga can be one of the original first manga about mangaka.
もう一つはですね、ちょっと違う視点なんですけれども、移動っていうことをテーマに考えるため、この移動っていうことは現代の日本に限らず世界のことを考えるにおいて非常に重要なキーワードだと思うんですけども、この移動っていうことについて考える漫画として4人書生っていうのは、ある種こう思想史的に面白い作品だなというふうに考えます。
And also another theme or the approach to look at this For Immigrants manga is the mobility or the transportation or moving to different places. So this is an interesting area in Japan and globally. And this, again, For Immigrants manga is one of the representative work when we think about mobility of people.
近年ですね、日本は保守化しつつあるっていうふうに言われることもあるんですけれども、実は非常に多くの日本人が歴史の中で移動して、時にぶつかりながら、時に文化交流してきた、その事実をなかったことにされがちではあります。
And Japan, people say we are kind of going towards more conservative attitude about going overseas or studying overseas. We're kind of going backwards, inwards in many ways. However, this is really interesting to sort of a starting point for us Japanese to think about how we Japanese people used to go abroad, live there, move there, and we sometimes have cultural conflicts with the local people. Sometimes we would kind of merge, blend into local communities. So that was the fact in history. And then this was sort of a trigger point that we can actually remember that this happened in history.
この4人書生っていう作品はですね、そうした移動する日本人っていうことを思い出させますし、いくつかの現在作られている漫画っていうのはこの作品の子孫として考えられるかもしれませんけれども、そのいくつかを紹介して発表終わりたいと思います。
So we can see this For Immigrants manga as a sort of historical account that these Japanese people existed. Japanese people went out of Japan and then went to different places in the world. So I would like to sort of bring up the point that we actually have some of the grandchildren or great-grandchildren of this artwork in Japan. So I would like to introduce some examples.
これはピクチャーブライドっていう沢島陽さんのまさに今連載している作品なんですけれども、
And then this is it's called Picture Bride by Yo Sawashima, and it's currently ongoing series.
20世紀初頭のここサンフランシスコを舞台にして、もともと移民として、渡米していた夫と、彼に嫁いだ女性の物語です。
And then this is a story about this married couple who came to San Francisco at the early 20th century.
1912年から20年にかけてはサンフランシスコとシアトルの移民局で記録されているだけでも7000人の写真花嫁ピクチャーブライドがアメリカに入国しているということが分かっているんですけれども、写真を交換してですね、一回も会わずにブライドが渡米するっていうそういう現象が当時たくさんありました。
So between 1912 to 1920, based on the information and statistics of San Francisco and Seattle Immigration Agency, there are 7,000 picture brides came to the States to marry a Japanese person. So they just exchange pictures and they the brides would come to the States without actually having to meet her husband.
このこれが主人公のブライドで、彼がその夫なんですけれども、名前が加山義明っていう名前で、それは木山の名前をおそらく意識した名前になっています。
And then this man is the main character of the manga, and this is his wife next to him, and his name is Yoshiaki Kayama, and I think they took the name from Kiyama Yoshitaka, the author.
たまたまですね、この、作者とつい先日お会いしたんですけれども、彼女自身もともとメキシコに住んでいたことがあるっていう経験のある女性で、卒業論文を木山について書いたっていうことが教えてもらって、あ、そうなんだっていうふうに驚きましたね。
So the author of this manga, the mangaka, used to live in Mexico, and her graduate thesis was about Kiyama.
これはあれですけども、アメリカのコミックスにも、日系移民の苦難を描いた作品がたくさんありますよね。
And then I know there are multiple comics in Japan, I mean in the States, American comics that depict Japanese immigrants.
日本でも翻訳されて話題になった作品なんですけども、ジョージ・タケイさんの「敵と呼ばれても」っていう作品はその代表作の一つだと思います。
And then here one of the representative work would be by George Takei, and it's called They Called Us Enemy.
この本はたまたま本当ついこの展覧会のために一回僕8月にサンフランシスコに来てるんですけども、その時に本屋さんで作品見つけた昨年出た本で、第二次世界大戦を挟んで沖縄、ハワイ、広島をめぐる日系アメリカ人3世代の物語になっています。
And this one, I just ran into this at a bookstore in San Francisco when I came to visit here last August to prepare for this exhibition. And I just went to the bookstore and found this book. This was published last year. And this was about 3 generations of families who spanned from Okinawa to Hawaii to Hiroshima.
これは最後に紹介したい作品なんですけども、望月幹也さんという日本でも非常に有名な、少年漫画家というかアクション漫画をたくさん描いている漫画家なんですけども、第二次世界大戦を舞台に、実在した日系アメリカ人で編成された、実際にいた舞台があるんですけども、その舞台を主人公にした、少年向けの娯楽漫画で60年代に発表されて人気を博しました。
And this is also called, it's called Frontline or Saizen-sen by Mikiya Mochizuki. And he is a very prolific writer for shonen manga or action manga. And this is about this Japanese Americans who formed a troops or soldiers during World War II. And his manga was published in the 60s.
フレッドさんもお話してたみたいに、その時代ある時代についての、国と国の関係だとか、社会情勢みたいなものが漫画に非常に反映されているっていうことが分かるんですけども、今日紹介しただけでもこういう、移動っていうテーマで考えられるような漫画っていうのがたくさんあるっていうことが分かったかと思います。
And as Fred mentioned in his presentation, you can see that manga reflects the relations between different countries and different states, and then also social status or what's happening in society. So I introduced you only several examples of manga that speaks of that. And some of the manga that talk about move or transportation of movement of people. But there are so many manga dealing with that.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ito-san. That was amazing. And Fred, your talk was fabulous. So we see it's true. It's really true. I feel incredibly moved, and what Ito-san has shown is what Fred said is that history rhymes. It keeps on rhyming, and I think we've seen that. So with all of this wonderful information we have in our heads, I hope we will get some food into our stomachs, and the people that are related to the speakers, there's a sandwich lunch for them in the Kimball, which is right up the stairs and right there. And for the others, you'll have to leave this space, but please come back. Don't forget to come back because the afternoon is going to be fabulous from 2 o'clock promptly. Thank you. Thank you.